There's going to be a heck of a lot of boxing chat next week, but plenty of it this week as well, because we know that Conor Benn, it seems, is one colossal step closer to fighting again here in the UK, fighting again in general. Benn's licence was removed by the British Boxing Board of Control, but the suspensions were lifted this November after the National Anti-Doping Panel stated they were not comfortably satisfied that he had committed a doping offence. And then yesterday, Benn's promoter Eddie Hearn joined us to say, yeah, it looks like he's almost back, and that could mean a fight with Chris Eubank Jr.
I had a good meeting with Ben Shalom the other day, trying to find a way to make the Eubank fight happen. I think we'll all probably kick ourselves in the future if we don't strike to make that fight now. I think it's one of the biggest fights in British boxing. Financially, you know, it's going to reward both guys well beyond their dreams and expectations. But you're dealing with a lot of ego, really, from the fighters in the sense that they don't like each other. Everything we've been through, we know it's been well documented. Conor Benn now has the opportunity to fight Mario Barros for the WBC world title. Like, the fight fan in me wants to make Ben Barrios. If Conor Benn can become WBC welterweight world champion at the O2 in London, that's legacy-defining stuff, right? He looks at his dad's WBC middleweight championship on the wall. It's firing him up every day, but the money is a third or a quarter of the potential of a Chris Eubank fight.
So that was Eddie Hearn speaking with Simon and myself yesterday. Spencer Oliver was in studio for that. Spencer is with us again this lunchtime. Spence, good afternoon to you, mate.
Jim, guys, how you all doing?
Here we are, Spencer. Let's find out from the other side of that pairing. How close is Eubank Jr. to fighting Ben? Chris Eubank Jr.'s promoter Ben Shalom joins us live. Ben, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jim. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, mate. So tell us all, what's the current state of affairs, Ben? How did that meeting go with yourself and Eddie Hearn?
It's been a back and forth for a while, to be honest. The fight has been looked to be made since Conor looks as though he's going to be free and have his license, and it's a fight that's been talked about for a while. I think it's close. I think there's a lot of bluffing going on. There's a lot of pretending about taking other fights and this and that, and I think you'd have to be absolutely crazy in Conor Benn's position to take any other fight than this one. I think Chris has got in the festive spirit. He's been extremely generous. He's got to a split that even I'm surprised with, just because we're trying to make the fight. We've done our job, and now it's over to Eddie to do his job and get his man sensible, get him in line, and then we have one of the biggest fights that you can possibly make in British boxing.
So, Ben, our understanding is that Conor Benn has accepted a 45-55 split in favour of Chris Eubank Jr. Is that right? As opposed to going for the world title against Mario Barrios.
He's not accepted anything, Spence. That's where Chris has got to. We were at 70-30 and 60-40, and to be honest, I thought that was fair. I think if Eddie was representing Chris Eubank Jr., he'd probably be asking for 70-30, and so he knows deep down how well I've done, how well the team's done, how well the management team's done to get Chris to be so generous in a fight where he's clearly the A side. And I think we've got to a point now where he's offered the chance to Conor Benn to win an absolute fortune to make this fight. And I do expect it to be made. I think, as Eddie said, there's a lot of ego, there's a lot of bravado. I think when it comes down to it, it's such a big fight. I believe it happens. I believe it's now or never. And so the ball's in their court.
Eddie Hearn was saying yesterday that he said that he expects it, if it does happen, to land on Riyadh season, possibly the end of March, beginning of April, and we could see that at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Definitely be in the UK. I think it's a fight that, one of the few fights that just sells itself. It sells out any stadium. It stops the entertainment world, never mind the sporting world. It's every generation. It's my dad, it's Jim's generation. And then it's on my generation, it's the younger generation as well. This cuts across all sorts of people. And I don't think there's a fight bigger than this right now to be made, whether Riyadh season are involved or not. It's absolutely huge. And thankfully, it looks like it's heading for the UK.
Ben, just a devil's advocate question. If Chris Eubank had an opportunity to fight for a world title, would you be in the mind frame of, let's get the world title and this fight will be even bigger next year? Is that a fair question or not?
No, I think so much happens in boxing, Troy. It's impossible to predict, and I've been there that many times where you go in one direction, another fighter goes in another. Who knows what happens to Conor Benn if he takes a different fight, and then suddenly the fight isn't the same, and they're at different crossroads in their career. The Lara fight is the world title fight for Chris Eubank Jr. He's got to the point now where he's pushing me to make that Lara fight. He's made his millions, Troy. He's been in the big fights. He's done this. This is more the promoter's dream, I guess, of making Eubank Ben. For him, he's done everything we've asked. I honestly, at the start of the process, did I think I'd get him to 55%? Absolutely no chance. So he's done everything I could have asked for. But he's now got to the point where, don't let it hold up my career. I've got an opportunity to fight for a world title. We have a date in mind as well. So, I think a decision needs to be made by Christmas.
And Ben, Chris Eubank Jr. has been very vocal in recent times about wanting that world title, chasing Canelo, Lara as well. If he takes this fight with Conor Benn, he's putting a lot on the line there, because if it goes the other way and Conor Benn wins that fight, he never gets that world title shot again. And, it is about fulfilling dreams and winning world titles. And Chris has been quite vocal about that. So where's he at with that now? Are we putting business before the dream?
No, in my mind, this is a tune-up before the world title. I think that the confidence in the Chris Eubank Jr. camp is we can't believe we can make this fight. It's the biggest fight in British boxing, and really it's a fight that is a foregone conclusion in our eyes. So it's the fight to make. I think it's a fight to make for both guys. I think, in all seriousness, I think it's the fight to make for Conor Benn and Eddie Hearn as well. I do believe it's going to happen, Spence. Like I've never been so confident of it. Everything's lined up to do it. The stadium's there. The promoters are there, and now it's just about Conor just being sensible and accepting a Christmas gift from Chris Eubank Jr.
Ben, just finally, what's the weight? What's the agreed weight?
It'll be at 160. It'll be at middleweight. It's still a tough ask for Chris to make that middleweight limit, but that's where it will be. And I think Conor and Chris are all comfortable with that.
Ben, we haven't heard from you on Ben Whittaker for quite a considerable period of time now, since that unceremonious bundling of him through the ropes by Liam Cameron. What's the latest? When do we see him again?
Yeah, he's in good spirits. I think, look, he's had almost the whole of a career in 1 year. I remember back to January, he was almost a bit of a prospect. Some people have heard of him, some people hadn't. And we sit here in December. He's one of the most talked about, one of the most recognised sportsmen in the UK. He's had the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, all in one calendar year. And for me, if I'm honest, I've taken time to think about what's happened. And I think I'm grateful. I think sometimes things can come very easy in life to certain talented people and certain sportsmen and certain individuals. And he's been on an absolute skyrocket. And it was a lesson that boxing is unforgiving, that boxing is brutal, that every time you get in the ring, it's life or death for the other people. It's life or death for your opponent. And I think for me, he's going to take this time, and we're going to have a fantastic year next year. And it's the start of an unbelievable career. And the interest that's in his career is already phenomenal. And I think that's only going to grow. But yeah, we're looking forward and hoping for, because I know what the next question will be. We're hoping for the rematch, and we do believe that will be in March or April, once Ben's fully recovered and back and ready to go.
And what about Chris Billam-Smith before we leave you? How is he? When's he back?
We were at the WBC convention this week, and we're hoping to fight for another world title. He's created a huge following for himself, a huge name for himself. Looking at the Baghdad Jack fight, that's the one that Chris Billam-Smith wants. That's the one that we want. That's the one that we feel makes sense. I do want to say, before you let me go, I am in Liverpool right now ahead of Natasha Jonas's unified world championship fight against Savannah Habazan. Lauren Price is on the card as well, defending her world title. Mark Jeffers, Vidal Riley returns, who we've been waiting for a long time, and a huge fight between McKenna Cutler, all on live on Sky Sports this Saturday.
And Ben, just before you go, mate, if Natasha Jonas and Lauren Price both come through on Saturday, do we get the unification next year? That's a great fight.
She's an established world champion in herself. She's been here for 4 weeks in Amir Khan's gym. If she wins, she'll be fighting Lauren Price. It's a collision course. It's 2 big fights on Saturday night. I think the Ivana Habers and Natasha Jonas is a genuine 50-50. And when you have 3 world champions in the same weight division, all you can do is set it up, winner stays on, and hopefully at the end of it, we have an undefeated champion.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.